Hey everybody, my name is Tom, and this is the Trans Life Podcast. So, today I want to talk about something pretty awesome that happened to me this week, and that was getting to meet two of the people who were absolute lifesavers for me when I was first figuring out I was trans. Two of my trans guy heroes, really, Jamie Rains and Ty Turner. So Jamie and Ty and others like them are the reason why I started talking about trans-related stuff online at all. Because if their videos could make such a difference for me, then maybe I could make a little bit of difference in someone else's life the same way. Not on the same scale, obviously, because my viewership is about a billion times less than theirs, but still, helping even one person feel a little bit less alone or scared or confused, like that's the goal. Like that makes it all worth it. Anyway, so before we get into the part where I talk about the actual meeting, here is some background. So, the year was 2020. Everything was on fire, sometimes literally, and we'd all been stuck in lockdown for like what felt like years, but it was really just the beginning. What a time. What a time that was. So for me, I played a lot of Stardew Valley. I baked some bread. I made some homemade jam. I tried to start an herb garden and failed. And I realized I was trans. So I've told this story before, but to briefly summarize, it's actually because of J.K. Rowling that I finally realized my transness. So someone in this Harry Potter Facebook group that I followed was being super transphobic and defending JK. And like a good ally, I jumped in to defend trans people in general. And while I was doing that, I found myself just getting more and more worked up and upset, especially as I was describing what trans people who experience gender dysphoria go through. And the guy I was arguing with just was not getting it because of course he didn't want to get it. And he was like, I need scientific evidence. Give me scientific evidence of the existence of gender dysphoria. That's what I need. I don't know why he sounds like Richard Nixon. And, I finally just like exploded. I don't need to have scientific evidence because I experience gender dysphoria every damn day of my life. And yeah, after I hit send, there was this long moment when I just sat there, just breathing hard and staring at my computer monitor and realizing, oh, yeah, actually, that was completely true. And oh crap, I am probably trans. So after that, I went into research mode and, I started looking up as many articles as I could and like reading memoirs and watching videos. And I ended up watching a lot of videos by Jamie Rains, Ty Turner, and Jackson Bird, especially. So they were my main source of information on figuring out what was going on with me, and were also just a really big source of comfort and some much needed humor during what was really a genuinely scary time for me. I also read Jackson's memoir, Sorted, and I have honestly never related to a book so deeply before. Like it was like someone had taken my own thoughts and my own experiences and put them down on the page in a lot of parts. So yeah, these people and a lot of others made a huge difference for me, both in figuring out who I am and also, accepting that person. And having been through this whole thing before, without that help, back when I was 19 and I first realized I was trans, and back then there weren't all these videos and memoirs, and there just weren't resources back then like there are now. So I realized I was trans, and then I immediately walked it back and was like, nope, never mind. That's not a thing. And I spent the next 20 years just ignoring it and being kind of miserable all the time. So, I'm fairly sure that if not for people like Jamie and Ty and Jackson, I would still be probably miserable and closeted and in denial. So cut to last month when someone in the comment section of one of my videos was like, "Hey, did you know Jamie Rains is coming to Chicago? And are you going?" I was like, "Oh, actually, somehow I did not know that. Somehow I totally missed that that was even a thing that was happening." And so I looked it up and immediately was like, never mind, because it said Chicago on the tour schedule, but he was actually coming to Naperville, which is a suburb quite a ways away from the city. And I don't drive, I don't have a car, and it was also happening on a Monday night. So, I'm like, okay, there's no way I can do this. There's no way I can go to this, even though I really want to. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, actually, maybe I could. So, not only did I really want to have the chance to meet Jamie and Shaba, who is his wife and is immensely awesome also, but I had been wanting to give him something, and this would actually let me do it in person. So, for those who don't know, I recently had a young adult novel published. It's called Dreamers, and it's a coming of age story about a queer trans kid in high school coming out, falling in love, and, just along the way, being taught how to dream walk by the ghost of his dad. Normal trans kid stuff. So, yeah, so writing this book was huge for me because it allowed me to really talk about everything I was going through for the first time and to use a lot of my own experiences and feelings while also keeping the story very uplifting and positive. Because that's what I want for myself and for all trans kids and trans people in general. So I wanted to do something to thank all the people who helped me on my journey of acceptance. So when I was picking out names for the characters in the book, I named a lot of them after those people. So, for example, the main character Leo, his best friend is named Jackson after Jackson Bird. Leo's favorite teacher, who is like a mentor and just a super nice guy and one of the advisors of the QSA. It's actually the GSA in this story, but same deal. So he is named Mr. Rains after Jamie. And Leo's English teacher is named Mr. Brutlog after Jeff Brutlog, who is a queer, non binary streamer whose streams were just a real haven for me during some pretty difficult times, and even to this day. There's also a mention of a kid named Ty in the love interest's backstory because I knew I could not finish the book without getting Ty Turner in there somewhere. And there are a lot of other folks in there as well, many of them showing up in the school's QSA, GSA. One Topic, who used to be called One Topic at a Time, Hey Human One, Maddie Serene, who used to be Nami Serene, Noah Fintz, Games Ruin Ray, Elliot Page, and Shaba gets a mention as the Shaba Bakery. So, I packed as many of them in there as I could because each and every one of them helped me during my journey, and I really can never thank them for that. And this was just one small thing I could do to sort of acknowledge them. When I found out that the book was actually going to be published, I had this dream of giving a copy of it to some of them when it came out. Despite my imposter syndrome being like, none of them are going to want that. What are you thinking? So when I saw that Jamie was going to be coming to Chicago along with Ty Turner, I was I knew that I couldn't miss out on that opportunity. So I bought a ticket. I looked up the train schedules for Naperville. I booked a super cheap motel room for the night, and I took the following day off work. The plan was leave for Naperville on Monday evening after work, go to the event, catch a few hours sleep at the motel, then head back to Chicago early the next morning to feed my probably furious cats, and then most likely sleep for the rest of the day. So that's basically what I did. I had to leave work a little bit early so I'd have enough time to get to Union Station downtown. And it's a good thing I did because figuring out where to buy my ticket and then which platform my train was on took much longer than I expected. And then I got onto the train, and of course, despite having checked like 3 times that it was the right train, I still was just like consumed with this anxiety of what if it's actually the wrong train? What if I'm gonna end up in like Canada or Alaska or somewhere and I'll never get to the event and it would be horrible. But thankfully that did not happen. I was on the right train, though I really wish that trains, especially express trains like that, would announce what train they are and where they're going prior to leaving the station. Like that would just help with my general emotional well-being. So, anyway, so if you have not had the opportunity to visit Naperville, Illinois, it's a very nice, very pleasant slice of suburbia with a historic downtown area that I was supposed to walk through to get to the place where the event was happening. Oh, and I didn't actually mention yet what the event was for, did I? So it was a book event because Jamie recently released a book. It's a nonfiction book called The T in LGBT. And it's a wonderful combination of a guide to all things trans, plus a series of real life stories and experiences from Jamie and a bunch of other trans people. I'm not finished reading it yet, but so far it is excellent. It's very good and a wonderful resource whether you're a trans person, an ally, or just someone who wants to know more about the whole thing. So definitely recommend it. And while you're buying books, consider grabbing a copy of Dreamers by TJ Bear because you know you should. So anyway, the event was going to be Jamie and Shaba talking about the book and Ty interviewing them, which would have been very cool even without the book signing meet and greet thing afterward. So, I arrived in Naperville and immediately walked a good 10 minutes in the wrong direction. This is why I always make sure to arrive early to places because I have no sense of direction and I will inevitably find the wrong way and head confidently in that direction. So, yeah, but I finally managed to get myself turned around and over to the event hall, and I knew that I had found the right place because everyone out front had like hair that was dyed blue or purple or rainbow colors, and they were all wearing extremely awesome clothes, and I was like, ah, yes, this is the place. Yeah, so I had time before the event to just wolf down like half of a burrito, since my train PB&J had not really done it for me for dinner, and then it was into the small auditorium to sit and wait for Jamie and Shaba and Ty to turn up. And when they did, it was to thunderous applause. And what followed was just a really good Q&A session. Ty was a great interviewer, and there was a lot of fun and laughter, as well as some more serious discussion. So they talked about writing the book, the research that went into it, and also just general life experiences of both Jamie and trans people in general, with some great interjections and stories from Shaba as well. Jamie also revealed that he wants to write a fiction book at some point, which, hell yes, sign me up. So when the interview finished up, we all crowded together to take a group photo, which was a challenge since there were so many people there, but we did it. And then it was time for us to get into small groups to meet Jamie, Shaba, and Ty in the lobby and get our books signed. Now, I am someone who is chronically sleep deprived due to being a very light sleeper and also having two very active and vocal cats in a studio apartment. So my usual bedtime is like 9 p.m. at the latest. So at the book event, it was pushing 9 at this point, and I had had a very busy day. I hadn't slept all that well the night before, and the combination of all of this, plus the nervousness and the stage lights, had triggered the beginnings of a migraine, which is exactly what you do not want in this sort of situation. So when they announced that it was time for the book signing, I popped some Advil and just sat there with my eyes closed for praying that my head would stop throbbing and I at least wouldn't throw up on anybody. Like I just like please just let me get through this. Please just let me feel okay enough to go do this. Because yeah, like that would have sucked to come all that way and do all that and then have to leave early because I felt like crap. So, but miracle of miracles, by the time my group was called and it was time to head out into the lobby and join the book signing line, I actually felt not great, but okay. Like moderately human. I was feeling more and more nervous and jittery as I got to the front of the line, but at least not like I was gonna vomit. So when I got to the front of the line, the folks from Anderson's Bookshop, which was hosting the event, asked me if I wanted a photo. I'm like, yes, please. So I had to hand over my phone, telling them, that it was nearly out of batteries, and I just needed enough to call a lift to my motel afterward. That was another of the doomsday scenarios running around my head where like my phone would be out of batteries and I wouldn't be able to call a lift and I'd have to walk like 10 miles to get to the motel or something. But thankfully that did not occur. So I handed my phone over and then suddenly it was my turn and I stepped up to the table and Jamie and Shaba were there and I just really hoped that I would at least be able to speak words in the right order. And somehow I did. It was absolutely fine. Like Jamie and Shaba are such warm and welcoming people. And also, I've been watching their videos and streams for so long that it just felt more like chatting with old friends rather than scary internet personality strangers. So, I told them who I was, and they both remembered me from their streams, which was really cool. And then while Jamie was signing my book, I said, yeah, so this might be kind of an unusual thing to do at a book signing, but I actually have a book for you. So I told him about how I'd named a character after him and why, and then I showed him the place in the book where I'd written him a personal message and signed it. So when I was mentally preparing myself to do this, like in the days before, I'd known that there might be a chance that I would try to give the book to someone and they wouldn't want it. Like I could see Jamie being like, "Oh, that's so nice, but I'm sorry I can't accept it," or something like that. But he seemed genuinely touched and even insisted on holding my book while we took our photos together. So like I'm there holding his book, he's holding my book. It was great. It was a really really cool moment. Just in general, just a really nice and wonderful encounter that left me feeling great. So after that, I headed over to Ty, who was manning a table with the line of shirts he sells. The clothing line is called Fit to Me, and they're made specifically for like trans mask bodies. This is the black shirt right here. So I had been wanting to get one of them for a really long time, but they were always sold out online. So I was really excited to have the chance to get one because I didn't even know going into it that they would be there. So hooray. So when I got up to the table, I started out by telling him that I sometimes visit his streams and told him my username, and he actually remembered me too, which was very awesome. Though I guess with a name like Tom is trans, it kind of like sticks in people's minds like, you're the one who is trans and spells their name weird. That's me. So I told him about how I was interested in the shirts but had never been able to get one. And then I gave him the copy of my book and told him about the character named after him and how much his videos had helped me and all that. And he got a little teary and we took a picture together and I only had $29 in my wallet to pay for the $30 shirt, but the guy behind me in line gave me the extra $1. And then Ty gave me a whole second shirt for free and it was just amazing. Like I really cannot say enough about how friendly and warm and wonderful Jamie, Shaba, and Ty all were. Like I'm sure they were exhausted by that point, but they still managed to be so nice, not just to me, obviously, but to everyone who showed up at the event. And they genuinely listened and connected with everyone who came up to speak to them. And it was just great. It was magical. And also just being in a space with so many other queer, trans, and gender nonconforming people was amazing and definitely not something I get to experience very often. So yeah, after I got my book signed and my pictures taken, I immediately sent the photos to myself in case some random phone malfunction ended up deleting them, which would have been very tragic. And then I called a Lyft and headed to the motel. It was about a 10-minute drive away, and it was pretty much what you would expect for a $60 motel room. I had to throw away the second half of my burrito since the room did not have a mini fridge or anything, but the room was clean and it had a bed, so it was good. So yeah, I got into my pajamas, collapsed into bed like I'm gonna sleep, and then I just laid there for many hours, like until after midnight, not sleeping because my brain was just like buzzing and buzzing and buzzing with everything that had happened. So yeah, I got up the next morning around 5 and headed for the train, then ended up accidentally boarding the local train and having a trip that lasted an hour and a half instead of 40 minutes, but it was okay. I had some great reading material and some really good memories, and the train trip passed in no time. Also, it was not crowded, which would probably not have been the case for the express train on a weekday morning. And Darla and Benny were only a little bit pissed off that I had been gone all night, so it was all good. So yeah, that was my adventure, and it was not without hiccups, but overall, it went like incredibly well. And if nothing else, it really drove home for me how important it is to be visible as a trans person if you're able to, and to share your story even when it's scary and even when you get hate for it. Like when I was just putting out Heartstopper videos, I managed to pass mostly unnoticed by the transphobic population because thankfully most Heartstopper fans are not transphobic. Who would have thought? But since I've been posting videos like this one, this podcast, other videos about being trans, I have had a lot more hateful and ignorant comments. And I'm a sensitive person, so it can be really demoralizing and really make me feel really sad and really bad about myself. But this is why I do it. My sphere of influence is much, much smaller than the ones that Jamie and Ty and people like them have achieved. But it still has the chance to be of help to someone. There could still be one person out there who takes comfort or feels a little less alone because of me being public about this stuff. And that makes it worth it. So yeah, I have officially met two of my trans heroes. And if I can find a way to meet Jackson Bird at some point, and he was actually the interviewer for the New York stop on Jamie's tour, though obviously there's no way I could have managed going to that, but still. But yeah, if I can manage to meet Jackson at some point, I will feel like I have officially met three people who made probably the most difference for me. Though, as I said before, there have been so many people who have helped just by being out there and being vocal. Or in the case of One Topic and Human One, being amazing allies and just generally warm and accepting people. So yeah, who are your queer or trans heroes? Or who are the people who have helped you as a trans person or a queer person or just a person? Let me know in the comments, which will be moderated as usual because of the aforementioned transphobe brigade. But yeah, if you have met any of your heroes, how did it go? Were you able to avoid throwing up on them? Because if so, that's a win in my book. That is a win. Okay, so that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening or watching and just for being here. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. You're great. I think you're nifty. I think you're neat. And I'll see you next time. All right. Bye.